One, two, three, four.
And welcome back to another installment of Breakfast with Brothers.
What's up, people? Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Love having you guys. Hopefully you'll stay tuned for more because all we're going to do is keep pumping.
Hope everyone's doing great. Today for us it's Thursday, but when you hear it, it'll be Friday, so I hope you all have a lovely Friday when you're listening to this, or if you're
And
listening
happy
to
weekend.
like whenever you're listening to it, realistically. But so today's topic is, obviously controversial for everyone, but it's going to be music tastes and what we kind of grew up listening to and what we ended up enjoying because of what we started listening to. So I guess we'll just, if you want to start it up, Zach, I would say go for it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to sit here and, crap on anyone's music tastes or anything, but just our own experience. Because coming up, we didn't have iPhones, we didn't have anything that could do any more than a CD player. I think that was my first one, aside from like an MP3 player. But I remember having something similar to a Walkman, where it was, pretty cylindrical. It pretty much fit one disc, that was it, and you could scroll through each track, and then that was it. You plugged in your headphones and had to lug it around with you. I could barely fit it in my back pocket. But that was when I started listening to, I think, like some of Mom's tapes to start, the stuff that she listened to with like slow rock, classic rock and roll, some, I guess, pop indie mixes. And then I know Brad CDs started making a mix in there. Our older brother, he was on not too long ago. Stuff with a little bit of rap, but also more of, what would you describe, like Blink 182
It's
or
pop
Sum
punk.
41 as?
Pop punk. I'm pretty
Pop
sure
punk.
it's classified as pop punk. I consider it just punk, but I believe that type of music is pop punk. Whereas, like, if you actually delve into like the punk scene, there's a much more, I wouldn't say aggressive, but it's much more, much of a different style.
Yeah, well, I mean, then indie and alternative were much different than what they're categorized as now. So speaking about then, it's been a whole change up. But regardless, between that and Mom's music, and then also listening to, I mean, what would you consider like Linkin Park? I don't know if that's punk rock, but maybe that's like soft metal. I don't really know. I mean, I'm not even sure.
Uh, it's kind of like, honestly, I couldn't really the way I classify things is much different than like, how they're actually classified. It's probably more of like a heavy rock, um, maybe more of a grunge, but it doesn't have like a grunge feel to it.
It could be like
Um,
grunge rock. I feel like that'd be a nice mix because it's
well,
definitely not.
'cause
It's not metal enough. It's not even really metal at all. I mean, they yell, but it's not like constant banging and screeching. So
yeah, I guess it could be like a grunge rock or a grunge metal. Um, because like I always think like when I think of like a grunge category, I usually everyone's gonna be like, oh, well, who do you think of, Nirvana? And I said, yeah, because that's kind of like a staple grunge band. They might have been more on like the lighter end of the grunge aspect because there's plenty of different bands that could be considered grunge.
yeah,
Um, but I would definitely like consider that as like a staple grunge band that everyone can like consider like, yeah, that's grunge.
100%.
So, but
But that's
yeah,
the
no,
thing. Like having that basis, I think helps because coming up, it was kind of just learning what our taste was. I mean, I guess I didn't really have a lot of other options than the CDs at the start, and then once we got the MP3, that's when things expanded. We got the punk rock, we got the rock and roll, started listening to rap. That's when I really got into it. And then from there it was, what did you think we had, like 400 or 500 songs on that thing? And all we could do was shuffle. We couldn't like pinpoint. We couldn't go by albums. We had to like just literally skip ahead, song after song.
we had that MP3 player before we got the iPod Shuffle. And
Yeah, yeah.
that MP3 player probably had maybe I want to say no more than like 200 songs on it, maybe less. It really wasn't something like massive because you could go through the amount of songs in that like I think Brad set up for us like within 3 hours, maybe.
Ooh, excuse me.
Bless you.
I don't know if it was that fast, thank you, but it was definitely, it lasted enough time. And I guess
Yeah,
I never really
no.
listened to music in, that much time in a row. It was one of those things where this was during school, coming up through middle school and stuff, early high school, listening to it on the bus, on the way home, maybe to some sports games once we got around to playing sports. I wasn't just sitting at home just bumping jams for hours. I feel like if I was at home, I was doing anything but sticking earbuds in my ears and just hanging.
Well, that's what I did. I listened to a lot of music just sitting at home. But it's something that I like to do. I was very involved in music in general, so it's like
No doubt.
I wasn't like necessarily like always sitting around in my room like listening to music, but I would say like a good half of the time I was, whether it was on my, when I finally got a TV in my room and I could play like Spotify through my PlayStation and stuff like that, that I like really started like adding it more into like my everyday thing. But now it's like I can't go a day without listening to some music. Like I bring my speaker with me, take my shower, and I bump music and while I'm taking my shower, or like when I'm cooking, I have like a speaker bumping. When I'm just sitting doing work and I don't feel like having like something on in the background, like on TV or something, I got music going. It's sort of something that's completely now and revolves around my life, or I revolve around that for my life. I listen to a lot of music, a lot.
Sure.
But definitely like in middle school, I wasn't listening to like nearly as much as I listen to now. Because we only had, the MP3 and then the iPod Shuffle, and then shortly thereafter we finally had like iPods and stuff where we could actually have music. And even at that point, like we really didn't have much, I mean, you had to buy a lot of the music, or, if we wanted music, we usually reached out to Brad, but after a certain amount of time, Brad was out of the house, so we didn't have access to that, catalog of music anymore that he had with CD downloads and such.
Well, also at that time, I think we started listening on the early version of the iPods, the touchscreen iPods, like the iPod, I don't remember what the heck they were called, like the iPod 1 and 2 or something. The one Mom gave us, and then a few iPods later, the one that we both had, where we could like actually have the app, Apple Music, and then get and download music. And I will say, Apple with their subscription program today for like Apple One or just Apple Music plainly, game changer, because now you can get whatever music you want for a monthly price. And I think I'm upwards of like 1,500 songs now. But I remember when I was looking up artists that I really liked, and I would have to pay like $9.99 for an album, or sometimes cheaper if it was on sale. But then there were also people who were charging like $19.99 for their albums, and there'd be anywhere between 20 and 30 songs. But you had to have the download space, pay for it, and then if you wanted to, transfer it to your next version of the iPod, you had to put it on the cloud or whatever. And that was a process, because it's not all the time that I was spending money. I remember getting gift cards randomly for holidays, sometimes birthdays, but it was one of those things where I would spend those on like games, or I would just like pawn them off on eBay eventually once I got the subscription. But that was a different era, man. We couldn't just sit around and download hundreds of songs a day just, for shits and giggles. It got to the point where you had to really think about what you wanted. Really think about what was going to sit on your iPod.
Yeah, I definitely didn't buy a lot of music, and I think like I really started getting into like the streaming services like once they became available. Like I had music on Apple Music for a while, and I listened to that stuff like pretty religiously. And then I found out from a buddy about Pandora, and I started listening to Pandora just to like kind of listen to more and more music. And that was a total game changer for me. And I think around that time, maybe like a year or two after I hopped onto Pandora, it was like Spotify appeared, and I was like, "Yo, Spotify!" and I started using that. And so, like, of course, Zach and I are complete opposites when it comes to streaming music. So he's on Apple Music, I'm on Spotify. We're the tale of two cities, so to say. And it's not like, I would say both platforms garner certain, attributes that are like awesome and like really cool.
Yeah.
But I also, I started with Spotify, and Zach kind of just stuck with Apple Music and kind of took it that way. And I think it's just what we found to be better for the both of us. Everyone's always saying, "Well, Spotify's better. Ooh, Apple Music's better." Nah, honestly, they're both pretty damn good. It's just different capabilities and different like formats that people enjoy and like. I love making playlists. I have millions of playlists, and for Spotify, people say it's much easier to like actually stream and like make playlists for other people and send them out to others. Whereas like Apple Music might be a little bit more strict with what you can do with the playlist. I really don't know because I haven't actually touched Apple Music. Point is that streaming platforms have made music, like listening to music, completely like stress free and easy for like a small amount of money. I think I pay like I used to pay like $5 a month for it with my student discount, and I think now I pay like $12 a month for it, and I would consider that like $12 well spent, because I would rather be able to stream any song, any album extremely easy right from Spotify, especially with like the new drops on Fridays. Like I think it's like the third Friday of every month, like someone's dropping something new or whatever it is.
I think it's every Friday, New Music Friday. I mean, not that it's always
okay.
people that you listen to, but definitely every Friday. At least that's what I see on Apple.
So yeah, for both of the platforms, I don't really be keeping track of like who's dropping what. I just, whenever I see it, I'll see it. Like the new Metro album, that just dropped.
That's the thing too with being able to make playlists on Spotify. I know from Meg, cause she's on Spotify, that she's always telling me how it is easy to make playlists, and they also do that Wrapped thing annually, around Christmas time or whatever the heck that is. And that's something that Apple doesn't do, but I also am not like looking for it to the point where it's something that would change me over to Spotify. But it's also something where I'm not using a lot because I don't make playlists like that. And that's another thing Spotify is good at, is they'll like curate playlists for you, or they'll point you in directions, be like, hey, we recognize you listen to this, maybe you'd enjoy this. And it's a little easier, I think, to get new music recognized, in your catalog. With Apple, I mean, I've always been set this way. Like when I listen to music, it's, I'd say 85% rap, maybe 80%. And then the rest is, a mix of classic rock, soft rock, punk, pop, slight alternative here and there, and then anything off of Rocket League. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's just, they exist in the entirety of my app, on the cloud, whatever. And I don't really listen to playlists unless it's like a specific group of people and they want to just listen to this, or I'm in a car with like 5 other people and they just want to listen to that. Otherwise, I'm just hitting shuffle on my entire song catalog. Like if I'm in my car or I'm in the shower listening to something. I'm not really listening to dinner super often when I'm cooking and stuff, because Meg's there to like talk and we're watching a show other times. But definitely don't think I plan on making the switch, only because it would probably be a pain in the butt to transfer, and I don't even know if that is an option, just taking my music from Apple and throwing it on Spotify. I might have to like go through and re-download my entire list. I don't know what that looks like. I don't really want to think about it, because if I had to, if Apple dropped off the face of the planet today and I had to go on to Spotify and re-download all of my music, I probably wouldn't. I'd go back to Pandora. I think I'd just go with whatever route was free and would leave me with an extra 30 weeks of time, because there's no way.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I mean, if you're set with Apple Music, there's nothing wrong with that. But to get away from the platform discussion, because I know this, like our topic was to discuss music taste, you kind of said like what your balance is, 80% rap, and then the rest is just miscellaneous of like other things that you like and enjoy to listen to.
A healthy mix.
Yeah, I have a playlist for like every feeling that I could ever want. So like, of course, they're just like they're all stupid names, and let me just read some of like my playlist names because they're
Party
kind of
Clown 1, Party Clown 2.
they're kind of stupid. But so like I got songs that hit my soul, and it's like a pick of Guts, like In the Rain,
Nice.
and I got like another one that's been like big in my rotation, which is called Dad Lore Type Beat with me,
Classic.
Chelsea, and Kevin. And then I got All Gas No Brakes, which is my like punk playlist.
There you go.
And and just like I think there was another one. My rap playlist is Shit Yeah, and it's some guy like coming out of his like a ghost coming out of his chest.
Nice.
So like I have everything that I could ever want like made into like different playlists, and I couldn't tell you how many playlists I actually have. It's a lot, and like there's other ones that I've saved too. But like my rotation consists of rap.
Yep.
What is it? I can't think of the name of it right now. Rap, punk, grunge, bluegrass, mountain music type beat.
Mountain music.
House music has been like a big like rotation for me right now. EDM. Let's see what else. Midwest emo. That's like a big one for me. I guess just alternative. I don't really listen to pop too much. But I mean, if you want to go into like the subcategories like trap, it just I listen to everything. Classical music, like that's still in my rotation. Like I listen to like a I guess like a I wouldn't say like playlist, but like a subgenre called like dark academia, which is a lot of Chopin. If no one knows who Chopin is, go check him out.
Chopin.
But yeah, I hope people know who Chopin is because they're got to be living under a rock. But I listen to literally.
Well, you just brought an extra 15 to 25
everything.
listeners to Chopin because of shouting him out.
Dude, I hope so. He's phenomenal.
Maybe. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, no, I try to listen to like literally everything, and I think it's kind of because of I don't know, just how much I've listened to like other music in the past. Like I always come back to like similar artists that I like to listen to. Like one of my top artists is Kid Cudi. I absolutely adore his music, and like even the newer stuff that he's been coming out. A lot of people have been like hating on his newer stuff. I kind of think it's cool. Like he's an artist. He's changing as the years go by, and that's for any artist for that matter. I mean, like even Blink-182 with their different changes, different instrumentalists. Like when they lost Tom DeLonge and they pulled on what's his name, the different guitarist. Even then, they still sounded good to me. Like they had a different stage presence and a different like sound altogether. But
Yeah,
they
I
still
haven't even
like
listened to their newest album yet.
yeah. But they all got back together. It's Mark Hoppus, Tom DeLonge, and Travis Barker. Made another album. I guess is their last album. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone else knows. But they've come back to their original sound, and even now, as they've gotten older, they sound different but still the same. So it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool seeing like artists kind of change over time, and still keep some of their sound, but still change things that they really want to change. So, but yeah, I listen to literally everything, and I'm always open to, anyone who's got any new music taste that they want to like put on to someone else. Type it down in the chat. Put it down in the comments. Do something. Let me know, and I will listen to it, and I'll come back to you guys about it.
Yeah, for real. Well, because that's a new way too to like really get it. Because I've met a lot of people that they don't have rap as part of their daily listen or weekly, whatever. It's part of their genre that they mess with in any type of regard. And then they have like country is their big top, or like heavy metal is their big top, or another could be. I don't know. I mean, I guess it could really go in any direction. Jazz, I mean, is another one, and that's one of
Jazz
those
is a
things
big
where
one.
those three categories aren't something that I'm actively listening to, and I don't have any ability to put any opinion on them by any means. But they're also stuff that I'll happily listen to. Like if I'm with people that, bump country mainly or whatever, and we're hanging out around a bonfire or we're drinking or maybe we're hanging out bowling or something, I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to ask them to turn it off, unless it's like an absolutely horrific song. Like if you're going to start bumping like the background music to Teletubbies or something like that, then we're probably going to have a problem. But it's one of those things where if it's actually music, you enjoy it. There's some type of vibe going. The music isn't completely throwing everyone for a loop. Then by all means, bump. But I know people that will get pissed when something comes on, and I mean pissed. Just like, dude, what are you playing this for, dude? Let me get on the aux. What are you doing? So
Yeah, those are the people that I don't like. It's like, yeah, sure, like I don't listen to like country music too often. I listen to a lot of jazz, but it's like it's when to play it and when not to play it kind of thing. It's like, there's certain people
sure,
that do like enjoy jazz, certain people that don't. But the thing is like I know it's country music is a lot, garners a lot of hate for people who don't actually listen to it. I don't listen
oh yeah,
to it heavy. I listen to it every now and again because it is nice. I don't mind country music. I also like bluegrass, which is just a root to country music. Sorry, I just cracked my toe. It just like shuddered for a second. But yeah, no, I mean,
camera's shaking.
I really do like enjoy country music, and I especially love like older country music. And I just never understood like hate for music, like unless you said like it's just like the vibe. Everyone's like, oh, for anyone who's doesn't really understand the vibe, it's just, what everyone's kind of like, wants to hear right now, like what everyone's kind of like grooving with and like what's making the moment of the time. So like I can understand like, oh yeah, like, the music that was just playing was like, 90s 2000s early 2000s punk,
Yeah,
pop punk rock, and then someone switches it to what's a weird thing, I guess, like
ballroom music.
yeah, straight to like ballroom music or like a classical waltz or something like that. It's like obviously no one's going to want to listen to that. I was trying to think of something completely random, but it's
That's
the
a
same,
pretty
like,
random switch, though.
yeah, it's just like obviously people are not going to want to listen to it. There's no need for like hate or anything towards it. It's just like, no, well, like this is not what we want to listen to right now.
That's how it goes. And having been a low class DJ at some house parties back at college, the fair share went across everyone that lived there. And, a couple people were better at others because they just wanted to play what people wanted to hear. And at the time, like Pop Smoke was really popular. So if Pop Smoke wasn't playing, people were getting pissed. Another thing that was, got the people going, Lil Uzi Vert, another huge
Hell
one
yeah.
where I didn't listen to a lot of them, but there were some songs that grew on me as we continually played them over and over at parties. And then who else is? I mean, I guess Migos in general have a bunch of party songs.
Of course, Migos. I mean, like, how could you
And
leave
then
them out?
and that's the thing. Like from there, it kind of expands into a bunch of different directions. Like you could throw in J. Cole, or you could throw in more drill, like with I know 50 Cent. Eminem has some hard songs. And then, I mean, and I could go on, but I think the thing there is if you're playing for a crowd of people that are drunk, belligerent, or baked out of their gourds, then you have new people to please, because now it's not just for you and your buddies, it's for you and 40 strangers. And you you can very quickly feel out of place when you start playing music that nobody knows, because everyone will stop dancing, they'll kind of look around like, yo, who's playing this? And you're just kind of having to sit there, and face the fact that, wow, I just put on an awful song choice here. So, but that's one of those things where I would never be doing it for like a big EDM crowd, or, a big classical crowd, or soft rock or something like that. We'll leave that up to the professionals, but it's just one of those things.
I mean, like, I think if I really like tried and put the effort forth, I could probably like be like a DJ, because I've always had like, I don't know, in my opinion, I make good playlists. I don't know if people really like agree with that. But like if I really had to like balance out like certain songs for, like a party or something like that, I think I could probably pull through and like pulling some bangers. But I do have to like say like a lot of my traps that I play now, or that are like run through my playlists. Like shout out Chelsea, she's kind of built up like that trap music for me. Like has like really like solidified my playlists for that. So like shout out Chelsea, thank you so much. But like, you know, for anything else, like I said, like I've been like really big into like house music as of recently, or like EDM and such.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like that's a whole other like beast to really get into, because now you're looking at like even like older house and EDM music. Like if you want to even take it back to like Daft Punk, and some earlier like, you know, earlier house music. I don't even know if you can consider it like Daft Punk house, or if that's like something else. I'm not really sure, but you know, then it starts getting a little harder, especially. But I think at that point, when you're playing like house music and people are like thinking like, oh yeah, I want house music, they're not gonna really care, you know, what song it is. They just want to hear like that drum and just like, you know, kicking in, dude.
The kick-ins, the drops, a little bit of everything. Yeah. That's how Chuck was back in the day too, and that was probably when we started playing Rocket League more often, because those were the songs that you just got thrown into. The mix of EDM, house, electronica, and just like random instrumentals that just had ridiculous drops. I think it was just one of those things where they were, to put it very plainly, lit. That was pretty much it. It's not something that you would just actively listen to while you're driving to the grocery store or something. It's not something you would actively play when you're hitting beer pong. But that's the thing. They kind of just worked themselves in, and they became, like you said, with Daft Punk. Like once I heard Doing It Right for the first time, and if nobody's heard that, go listen to it. Doing It Right, that one was out of an album that was a pretty healthy mix, where I don't think I could easily say it was, yes, this is house, or yes, this is EDM. I think it's a nice mix. But Daft Punk in that sense was kind of that entryway for me to go and like search more. Rocket League helped with that. And then there was another game that kind of had a mix too, where it was like rap, rock, punk, a little bit of EDM.
Dude, that was Tony Hawk Underground.
Tony Hawk Underground
has set up my entire like music taste. Because like skate also, I can't forget.
Yeah. Skate had a lot of good playlists as well. All skates that are out, 1, 2, 3, whatever.
Yeah, they're coming out with a new skate game. Shout out EA. EA. Oh my god, I can't.
Thanks
speak.
EA.
Yep. Like I'm really hyped for it. It's literally just Skate period. It's not Skate 4. It's Skate period. Remember that. But besides that, yeah, I would say like I would garner a lot of my music taste like thanks to Brad. And like thanks to like Pops, you know, they really like kind of they put me on the map to a lot of things. Like I listened to a lot of Dad's records, and like a lot of the things that Brad listened to like on his CDs and such, I kind of like ingrained in my mind and thought like, oh yeah, this is like, you know, this is cool music. Brad's listening to it.
I wouldn't have known Seal if it wasn't for Dad.
Yeah, exactly. Like Kiss from a Rose, killer song. Like everyone, you know who you are when you listen to Kiss from a Rose and what you do. You sing along with it every single time. But yeah, no, I wouldn't have known Seal. I really wouldn't have gotten into Coldplay if it wasn't for Dad. Like I have a love for Coldplay.
Police.
Absolutely love their music. Police, yeah. Let's see, like Dad put me into like some old like classic blues like Howlin' Wolf. A couple other guys, I cannot think of their names. I'm terrible with names, so I apologize. But he put me onto a lot of like early blues artists.
Steel Pulse.
Steel Pulse, yeah, like you were telling me about that. Dude, Steel Pulse is killer. Love Steel Pulse. You know, he put me onto a lot of classic rock, like you know, no one really knows this man, but it's Captain Beefheart. Absolute legend.
Beefheart. The beef bone.
Yep. Captain Beefheart. And like some of his insane albums that are just awesome to listen to, especially on record. And like my love for like Led Zeppelin, you know, that was a big one from Pops.
Who was that guy that wrote The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald?
Oh, I'm blanking. Like I said, I'm terrible with names, but I'll pull it up right now.
He passed away recently. But that was one of those songs where I got put on by Tyler from Wellsville. Shout out. And
Gordon Lightfoot.
Gordon Lightfoot. Yep. Another person who, you know, kind of he didn't. I can't say he like shaped the music game for me, but these are things that you explore and find out from friends, from other people that you listen to, and not because they're trying to force you into it, but they start playing music that they like and listen to in gatherings when you're there with them, or just on accident driving in the car, whatever. And that's the best way to find like, yo, who sings this, or like, yo, what song is this? Because then you add it, and then just like all social media and targeted advertisements, Spotify and Apple Music are really good about being able to curate more for you. Or even if you're listening to a radio station on either of those platforms, where
Right.
things can get curated in a direction once you start listening to artists. Like right now, a song that came out by Hozier, it's like really popular. It's like becoming a TikTok song. It's something that Meg is constantly hearing on her mix through Spotify. I'm getting a little bit of on Apple Music just because like we have an Alexa in the house and like my phone's in and around and able to obviously listen in. But it's definitely one of those things where it's helpful now more than it is harmful. Of course, there's still harm, whatever. Feel your own opinion out on how you want to let technology shape your life. But in this sense, and in this case, it can help you expand your music taste and quality.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we wrap it up, I have one question for you, Zach, and I'll answer it too, but I need you to answer it first. What is one song or one album that you would like tell people to listen to right now, that like you have like had in rotation or that you've had stuck in your head or something? What is one album, one song, something that you would recommend to people listening?
You know what? I'll put the people on to the earliest album I ever got by Jay-Z back when I still had to pay for music. And man, that was what a mistake. I wish I could have been born like 3 years later to miss out on having to pay $19.99 for this.
Yep.
But it was Magna Carta, Holy Grail by Jay-Z.
Magna Carta, yeah, that's a great song. Or a great album, sorry.
A lot of bangers on that. But again,
Yeah.
for all the people listening, rap, obviously, Jay-Z. But if you do listen to it, there's a couple songs in there you probably won't like, but the majority is pretty good. So have a listen.
Okay, so I have a song and an album, all right? So first song is High Tops by Del Watergap. Amazing song. Great listen. And then I have a album, I just need to remember the name of it. And it's going to be Shed by Title Fight.
Sick.
Yeah, like so the Del Water. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to explain anything. Just listen.
Don't
listen.
say a word. Let them think about it.
Listen to Shed, like the album Shed by Title Fight, and then High Tops by Del Watergap, like the song. And I think you guys will kind of now garner some of our music tastes that we have and that we love. That
No
we don't
worries,
really.
though. We won't spoil more for you in the moment. We'll let you guys rock and roll, and we'll let Ian send us out here.
Facts. So thank you all so much for listening. As always, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. As always, check us out on Spotify if you're listening on YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, check us out on Spotify. Cut it out. But thank you all so much for listening, and we'll catch you on the flippy flop. Peace.
Out for the, I'm walking the bull, out for the, out for the, out for the, out for the, out for the.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.